growth often happens outside of our comfort zone, and certainty is our comfort zone. So the growth is happening more in the variety realm or in the growth realm, right? And so recognizing that you need all six. So yes, are there places in your life that you want to feel like you have a big old security blanket on, and you're making choices based on what is going to bring you comfort and happiness and avoid the pain? And then in other places, often in those growth realms of our lives, which is very frequently our business, right? Trying a new platform is going to be a growth. It's something new you're learning. It's a challenge. And so not feeling like you need to be all in certainty.
Hello, welcome to Monetizing Mompreneurs podcast, where I take you behind the scenes with industry leaders, entrepreneurs, moms, working professionals, and amazing people pursuing their passions and going for their dreams. And I'm your host, Linda Mendable. Hey friends, schedules change and life happens. Well, Monetizing Mompreneurs for the remaining of this year in 2024 is going to be a bi-weekly podcast. So basically it's one Tuesday, I'm posting. The next one is going to be, you're going to wait for the next week. You get what I'm saying? So thank you so much for coming on this journey. Let's see what this next year has for 2025. I hope that you enjoy your holiday season. Love that you're following along. Love that you're here. You're here for a reason. You have purpose. You have a calling, and I'm here to help you on that call. Right now, the reason why the podcast is the way it is because I'm focused on launching my template shop. Lord willing, it will be launched in these next following weeks or in the new year, one of the two. But I am so excited about it. It's Show It templates, Flowdesk templates, and Canva templates that will be available. And along with, if you're in the society, you'll have access to many of the items on the shop within the society. That's right. So stick along with me. I'm here to help you on your journey through strategy, design, marketing, and inspiration, motivation, and keeping God first. All right, Grace, do you have any other questions for us here?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is so insightful. And it's funny because I think you can all relate, but I kind of gave a similar advice to someone else I was helping just yesterday. I was like, oh, you got to make sure you look at your data. But then I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't think I'm looking at my data. So it's always easy to give advice to other people. And then this conversation just humbled me and gave me a good kick in the butt. So I will do that. But yes, I had another question actually inspired by, I want to say it was maybe Lisa, your interview. I think you talked about like core needs, and I love that because part of what my business is as well is like helping women overcome stress and overwhelm. And that was like really insightful too. I was like, oh shoot, I should talk about that. But I wanted to ask all of you, like, how do you discern between if you have like a core need inside, like, you need more certainty or control over something, you could either adjust your circumstances, like maybe you plan ahead more, you prepare more, but there's other situations where you can't necessarily control the circumstance, and maybe you're actually supposed to just step out into the uncomfortable, into unfamiliar without doing something to meet that need, if that makes sense. I think one very basic example I'm just like pulling out is like some people really like familiar, jobs and the way they're operating. They don't like to delegate, so that's familiar control. But then perhaps in order to grow, you actually need to let go of that and delegate and hire to scale. So I don't know, like, let me know if that makes sense.
I can jump in because I actually was having a conversation with a colleague this morning about sort of a related topic, which is that, there's not like a blueprint for what a business growth needs to look like. I know in my world is law. I mean, I know very successful lawyers that are solo practitioners that have, a paralegal, and because they like doing the legal work, for me, I just had a vision to experience to grow a bigger business. You do need to be comfortable with delegating, but that is in line with my personality. I'm not a micromanager. I'm not a perfectionist. If you've ever done like a DISC assessment, I'm like the, quick start, go, 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 go. So that plan was very much in line with my personality. But, if other people have, different visions or different goals for their business, there's a lot of different things that a successful business can look like. And I think sometimes people get kind of caught in looking at what other businesses are doing or sort of some objective definition of what you have to do to be successful. And, I've certainly found, and I think a couple of the other ladies here have sort of touched on this, that your purpose or your alignment or whatever you want to call it, if something, to be successful in something, I think it has to like feel good to you and it has to be aligned with your personality. If you love doing the work and you don't like delegating, then maybe, growth scale is not the goal. I'm not saying that that's, for you, but just as an example.
I'll jump in here. Miriam, that was awesome. I think understanding what meets our needs. And then, saying, hey, maybe this path that someone else is doing is fantastic, not the right one for me. With the core needs specifically about certainty is remember that there's 6 core needs. So certainty is the first one. That's the one I talked about today. But variety is the very next one that we coach on. And they feel like mortal enemies, right? One is like this control and we feel safe and we feel familiar. And then variety is like freedom and something new and a challenge. But the thing that we say all the time is that you need all 6 core needs. So certainty, variety, connection, significance, growth, and contribution. And so just like you said, Grace, you nailed it. Growth often happens outside of our comfort zone, and certainty is our comfort zone. So the growth is happening more in the variety realm or in the growth realm, right? And so recognizing that you need all 6. So yes, are there places in your life that you want to feel like you have a big old security blanket on and you're making choices based on what is going to bring you comfort and happiness and avoid the pain? And then in other places, often in those growth realms of our lives, which is very frequently our business, right? Trying a new platform is going to be a growth. It's something new you're learning. It's a challenge. And so not feeling like you need to be all in certainty and recognizing that we are going to have parts and that you need variety. I use an example. What if you ate scrambled eggs every day for every meal for like 2 weeks? You would be craving something different. You literally need something different at that point. Like your body needs different foods. It's the same thing with your life. If you're living in this comfort zone, like you need some challenges, you need some variety, you need some other stimuli that is going to give you those opportunities to fulfill the other parts, the other needs that you have. Does that make sense? Does that help kind of balance that question?
Yeah, I think that gives more clarity around. It's not about like making sure every single need is like 100% on the meter because it is like, it's like a push and pull, right? Like when one is higher, it kind of, you adjust accordingly. So yeah, that's really helpful. I think, when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, it's oftentimes so uncomfortable. So I've also been kind of trying to pay more attention to like, just like I think Kristen, you were talking about like knowing who God made you uniquely to be and embracing that rather than feeling like, oh, I need to jump to this strategy or do all those things because everyone else is doing it. But what is like uniquely unaligned to like me, which I think takes a lot of trust and a lot of faith of like letting go of like the self-doubt and the FOMO and all that stuff. I did have one more question. And again, please, Dallas or Lynn, stop me at any time if I'm talking too much. But I wanted to ask, because for context, I'm still like in early stages. I'm about 1 year-ish in to the whole entrepreneurship journey after spending my whole career in 9 to 5. So it's a lot of unlearning and relearning. But I would love to know if you all were to prioritize and focus on just up to three things, like in your earlier stages, because it's so easy to feel like, oh, there's so much to do. What would you have done more of or less of, or maybe not at all? And you were like, I just wasted a bunch of energy on that.
I'll go. Yeah, I'd love to talk into that because I've been doing this entrepreneurship thing since like 2019. In the first 2 years of my business, I made $27. Thank the Lord I had a 9 to 5 that I was blessed with. But For me, I would say, well, for everyone, even my clients, I say this is focus on building your email list. But in order to do that and do that correctly and not having a bunch of people on that don't really want what you have to offer, you really need to have clarity on how are you going to help someone and who it is you're called to serve. So your core offer and who your ideal client is. And it starts with extracting, your blueprint inside and really what the Lord's calling you to do. But I would say, if you're trying to do this on your own, stop trying to duct tape it together and find a mentor that can help you get to where you want to be faster. Because we're either going to spend our time or you're going to spend your money. And money you can always make more of, but time you're never going to get back. And you have something that the Lord wants you to bring forth and help your people with. So that's what I would say is get really clear, spend really clear on that, and focus on building your email list and find a strategy that works for you to build that. But more importantly, find someone that can help you get to where you want to go a lot faster, and don't do it on your own. That would be my advice. I wish I would have hired someone sooner.
I would say definitely agree with getting involved in a mastermind or a coach early on. I started my own firm 8 years ago, and for the first 2 years, I kind of just bumbled along. Once I started working in a mastermind group, it was just a huge turning point for me. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's other people that are going through similar struggles that you can learn from and help each other. That would be number one. Number two would be I would be more intentional with business finances, setting aside retained earnings so that you can, feel more secure in the business and grow it. I wish I had done that sooner, but nobody told me to do it. So I didn't know for a couple of years. And then this is advice that I wish I had had, is to not worry as much about kind of all like the having everything perfect before having clients. I believe that in any business, just getting clients in the door is step one. I totally agree with having a great website, having a social media presence, getting into marketing, all that stuff is very important, but none of it matters if you don't have clients, and you're not going to have any money if you don't have clients. And so sort of being a little scrappy in the beginning, I think, is fine, and just not taking your foot off of the gas of bringing in new clients. And then as the money comes in, you can always upgrade things. You can improve your systems. You can add people to your team. You can upgrade your site, all that kind of stuff. I think those are the three things that I wish I knew earlier.
Amen. Thank you, Miriam. I will say this, Grace, I saw one of your posts. I saw that you play like RPG games. I would say it's like an RPG game, girl. Like, how can I level up? All right. And do those things that'll help you level up. Sometimes you got to approach it like a game instead of approaching it like taking things so personal. Approach it kind of like, well, let's see what happens. If I do this, let's see what happens. Let's try it for this much time and just see what happens. Instead of taking it like, oh, I am this or I am that because it didn't actually hit certain goals. I would also like to hear from Heather.
Yeah, so I actually would have slightly opposite advice of what Miriam said. And that's the great part about us all growing our businesses differently. I would not have spent as much money on group programs and courses and coaching sooner, because what I realized about myself after going through some therapy and really learning about who I was just through the course of doing business too, and having friends in the same space, is that I wasn't trusting myself enough and what I knew to be true. I went to business school. I have an accounting and a finance and a management degree. Like, I know from college, like, how to set up a business properly and like marketing tactics and management, managing businesses and things like that. So I just feel like earlier on I was trying, and I think Kristen might have said this earlier, and I can't remember exactly who, but listening to like all these other experts and just getting all of this advice that just didn't feel right for me, because there's so many people, there's so many voices in the space that are saying, do business this way and do business that way. And I think you just have to find what works and what feels good to you, and then take Miriam's advice and find a platform, a container, a course, a coach that can help you do that. But also, that person needs to have done what you want to do, because there's way too many people out in the world that are saying that they can help you do the thing, and it's snake oil. And I just find I've been burnt too many times trusting people because I'm such a trusting person. So that's what I would say on that. And then as far as like what I would have done, I would have grown my email list seriously sooner. I would have started on YouTube seriously sooner. And I would have foregone social media. And then I would have done more networking, one-to-one conversations, finding people like Linda, like Miriam, like, Kristen a lot sooner to network with and really get in front of more audiences. I started doing podcast pitching in January of this year, and I've now been on more podcasts and then been invited to speak in those private mastermind groups and exposed to more ideal clients and customers than any other year in business. And yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, and Heather, I just wanted to follow up because I don't disagree with that at all. I think also an important thing to remember is whenever is the right time for you to have a coach or to have a mastermind. I think two points I definitely agree with. One, it needs to be someone who has real experience and who's done what you want to do. Or if you join a group, it's people who are either basically at your level in business, however you define that, or above. That's where you can really learn from. As far as networking and things like that, it could be anywhere, but I definitely agree with that. And I also agree with that no matter at what point in your business you find the right coach or consultant or group, there's not one person that's going to be your guide 100%. Anyone that you work with, any program you do, any material, it's you learn and you take what is helpful, but it's not going to be a blueprint. I don't believe that any of us can find a magic blueprint, that's perfect for us and for our business. And I can relate that, it's very, to what you said, Grace, in the chat, it would be really amazing to find somebody that can just tell us exactly how to run our business. And then we wake up and, it's exactly as we want, but it's about, gathering information that's helpful, but then ultimately implementing it and adapting it and trusting yourself.
That's so good, Miriam. So good.
Yeah, everyone has shared like really golden nuggets. And I guess because we're coming into the end of the interview, Lisa, have you chimed in on this?
Have not yet, and I would love to.
Yes, please chime in.
From each also, which I think is so two things here is the community piece. There's a old saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so there is so much value at the very beginning of building a community, whether that's other entrepreneurs with you. I really love that Miriam said people that are a few steps ahead of you. So valuable. But just having people around you that rally with your purpose, your why, because they will become the people that support you when you're doing it, but they also will be people that spread your message and bring people to you. And entrepreneurship is very lonely in a lot of ways. A lot of times we're isolating ourselves. And so having a community, I mean, you don't even have to have a paid mastermind. Grab 4 ladies that are in business and say, hey, let's go to dinner once a month, or even jump on Zoom once a month. I have several groups like that. And I'll tell you, when I come out of those, I feel so much more energized than sometimes my paid coaching situations. The other piece, and this is so foundational and everyone has spoken to it, and Grace, you called it out. It's harder to trust ourselves, right? This is what we're trained to do as women and people, is to look around and get validation and reassurance from the people around us. But if you do not trust yourself, if you don't have that confidence, and that's literally the definition of confidence, is being able to trust or firmly rely on someone or something. And so if you don't have that trust for yourself, which by the way, it can be developed, it is not either she's born with it or not, right? This is not Maybelline. This is your confidence, and you can develop that. And that's one of the things that we do very first before any Thrive coaching is you learn how to develop your confidence, because everything is based back on that. And as I'm sure all of these ladies can, there's going to be points in your entrepreneurial journey and in life where you're doubting because things got hard, right? We just talked about that. You're going to have the variety piece, that growth piece. And if you don't have that foundation to come back on, if you don't know why you're doing it and trust yourself to make those decisions, it becomes a very bumpy road that will probably end earlier than it should, because it's very difficult. And I don't want to be negative, but you have a purpose, and God knows you, he sees you, he will support you. But we also need to be able to believe in ourselves, to have faith in us, and to have faith in God that he has faith in us, right? Oh, sorry, it did the thumbs up. So those are the two pieces, like develop that confidence in yourself. which is truly developed over time as you continue to make decisions and believe that you're the one that can make the decisions that are right for you, which then literally eliminates that comparison. When you trust you, you stop looking around, you stop comparing because you don't need it anymore. That part of validation is fulfilled. And then surround yourself with women or men, whatever your community looks like, of people that are rallied behind your why and rallied behind you. That community is invaluable.
Thank you, Lisa. Grace, does that answer? Okay, so I'm going to shoot two more questions as we wrap. So we're going to wrap this up. And I'm going to shoot two questions, which I think is going to end on a good note. And the first one, which I think is going to be the one that we were discussing about, like, what you wish you did in the beginning. Like, for me, because I know some of you have answered some of that question. For me, it was, I invested. I didn't really invest in groups because groups were way too expensive. I was like, that's way too much. And so what I did was I focused on what did I want to learn within, well, like whatever area that I wanted to get better in. So those are the areas that I invested in. And that's why I recommend, like, for people that want to develop a course, like, what is the life skill that you're teaching? Because usually the life skill is what I'm trying to, like, learn about within your niche. Because people want to be like, oh, I'm for everyone. Because, I'm a designer. So I meet so many people and I'm trying to do their websites. And some people have never had a website before and they're getting it. Well, I want this for everyone. I'm like, when you're for everyone, you're really going to be for no one because people are not going to really resonate with you. Right. And so I think the biggest mistake is people do is kind of like, I want to be for everyone. I want to be a designer for everyone, And then they wonder why they don't get enough clients or they're not getting clients. And as you can see here, a lot of these women are niched in their areas, but that's one of the things. So I invested early on in kind of like what I wanted to learn more about. I wish I did that more often. So I wouldn't do that so much. I would just do like here and there, and then like I can coast. But I wish I invested more in kind of like those life skills. So the second question is going to be kind of like, what is that golden nugget that transformed your business? Because I know some of you answered like what you wish you did. Like, what was that piece that, boom, like things just started flowing, or like, man, all right. So those are the two questions. Because I know Miriam, you answered some of that. And I know Heather, you answered some of those two questions. I'm going to pop it over. Whoever wants to go first.
I can go because I have to hop off to get the little one down for a nap. But I don't know what that first question was. The golden nugget, and what was the first question?
Like what you wish you would have, like what you wish you would have done or not done.
Okay, well, yeah, I wish I would have not struggled on the struggle bus on my own for such a long time. So I think I kind of already answered that. And then the golden nugget that really transformed my business is really getting in alignment with my kingdom assignment and what the God was calling me to do, and creating a business by his design, extracting my blueprint. It's already there. You're called to business for a specific reason. So that's what really transformed my business, and what changed the directory of it and started bringing clients and income in was hosting a virtual event, is leveraging other relationships I've already built in the online space, and then using that as a launch runway into my challenge or webinar, whatever it is, and then opening doors to my beta founding member program. So relationships, collaborations, that was a golden nugget that changed everything for me.
That's good. All right. I'm going to ask Heather. I'm just going to pick you guys.
The one thing that changed really everything for me, obviously, was trusting myself. And I kind of mentioned that already. But the really big thing was like letting go of the fear of sharing it all. Like, people ask these questions all the time, like, how much should I share in a lead magnet, or how much should I give away in my free content? And when I just let that go and put that ego aside of like, oh, if I share all of it, no one's ever going to give me money. As soon as I let that go and cut that girl loose and just started sharing freely, I had people knocking down my door. I could not imagine. I have one of the smallest Pinterest marketing YouTube channels, but I could not imagine being in a room with 16,700 people. At what point in time does that sound normal? It does not. So when I look at my numbers, when I look at followers, like I just mute all of that and just share, and the goodness flows. So that's what I would say.
That was so good. And I love that. And like, I mean, we're in a room of powerhouses here, as you can imagine. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Miriam.
I think actually kind of on a very similar theme with my law firm, really same theme, trusting myself and not worrying about doing it the way that other law firms were doing it. A lot of what we do business-wise is very unique in our marketing, in our systems, and sort of telling myself like that was okay. I didn't have to replicate the firm that I had worked at when I was younger. I could do my own thing. Been a huge secret to our success. And then similarly, that really kind of lend itself or gave birth to my consulting business, because the book Mom's a Lawyer is really talking about how you can start a business and do things differently than just how the traditional field does. In my field, law, it's very like workaholism, 24/7 accessibility. It's very old school. And although a lot of thankfully less people experience direct sexism, there's still it's very difficult to be a working parent in law, particularly a working mom. And so I wrote this book and basically was saying like, it doesn't have to be that way. We can have a firm another way. And just sort of putting that out there, I got a very positive response, but I also did get naysayers. I also got people that, said there's no way that you could run a profitable firm and not work 70 hours a week. So really just sort of getting that mindset that I was going to do it my way and I could be successful that way. It was a real psychological shift that really kind of was like almost like a key that unlocked things for me.
I'm going to ask, so are you living like the life of Suits? Is that your life?
I did litigation for a long time. I was a trial lawyer. We still do a little bit of federal litigation, so I guess that's a little Suits-esque. But I don't know if it's all that glamorous, but it is fun. I love it, and I've never had a boring day in my whole career. I can say that much. So say what you will about law, but it's not boring.
Amen. Yeah. And yeah. So you're living that glamour. It's glamorous. You're in Guatemala. It has to be.
Yeah. I've been very, very proud of my firm.
Yeah, you're doing so good, Miriam. Because we've chat, Miriam. You can also hear Miriam's episode on the podcast. So that's really great. I'm so glad that you're here, Miriam. I always love connecting with you. I remember last time I couldn't connect, but there was I didn't even know what was going on. But anyway,
technical issues.
yeah. So
I really appreciate it. I love hearing from other fields, because, a lot of in my consulting business is a lot of just like other lawyers and other law firm owners. And I've always learned so much from other business owners in other fields and seeing what I can apply. I think that's very, very valuable. So I love being in spaces with other accomplished entrepreneurs just in different fields.
Yeah. No, I always go and look in other fields too as a designer. Like I look into fashion or interior design. So that I always get inspiration from that. So as business owners, as mompreneurs, I think being in spaces like this is very powerful. Thank you, Miriam. All right, we got Lisa.
Hey, I feel like honestly, I just say ditto. Each one of you have talked about how when you trusted yourself and started doing things your way and sharing your message that was unique to you is when things exploded. And I exactly the same way. And I think that's the big difference, is once you trust yourself and you start sharing what is unique about you and the way they do business, right? There's a million lawyers, there's a million coaches, there's tons of Pinterest services that you can look at, but no one is you. No one is Miriam. No one is Heather. No one is Grace. No one is Linda. No one is Dallas. No one is me. And so you bring something unique to the table and trust God and say, I'm going to do this even though I'm scared, right? That's when things change, because you are sharing the message that's right and different, and people are attracted to that. So I just pretty much amen. I'm really grateful to hear that answer from all of you and know that that is what makes your business different, is when you start to be you in your business.
So what was your golden nugget though? Like that, you agree with is everyone's? So what was your
literally safe? That was what I'm going to say from the very start. The gold nugget was when I started to show up as not just a coach to help you be awesome, right? But once I was like, hey, this is the program that I teach because it's specific to me and it's the knowledge and expertise that I have. Or like with a conference, there's so many conferences right now. But when I speak to why Thriving Women's Conference and what our beliefs are, what our core is, and what you learn from that and why we're different. But I'll be totally honest, the last couple of months I've shied back. And I don't think I realized I was doing that. And we got a little more generic. And then yesterday I put up some stories on Instagram that were just much more authentic to me and showed why we were different without coming on and saying, this is why we're different. The response was tremendous. It was like double the views, double the responses, because, there's so much of the same out there. There's so much noise, but when you stand up as you and you know your why and you're sharing that. So yeah, that was literally my nugget. You can see my business cycle, that when I'm stepping out truly as me in that confidence, authentic truth of what we're doing, you can see the rise. And then when I start to like settle back, you can see the business also like kind of slow. So I'm blown away that was literally all of ours, like one biggest piece of golden nugget advice.
But I get it. Yeah. Yes, Lisa, thank you. So I am so thankful for everyone here. Heather, Miriam, Grace, Dallas, April, Lisa. I'm going to say this. I got two things from it. And number one was kind of like group programs, or not group programs, but it's kind of like it was that letting go, right? For me, it was letting go the rush. I always felt the rush to post, the rush to do something, right? The rush, I got to post this, I got to be on the story, I got to do the reel, I got to reel it up. It's the real thing. It's got to be a reel. Or having that content and like rushing. And once I slowed down and started being intentional instead of going, because there's temptation in the rush. We think, well, this is the viral one. This is the one that's going to make me go viral. And then you only get 10 views every time you think that's the viral one. I think there's, I was a bit hard-headed. I'm like, okay, hold on. Even though I think it's amazing and I'm cracking myself up from this content, doesn't mean that someone else is going to think it's amazing. But once I let that go, once I let the rush go, once I let the FOMO go, and once I just started being intentional and just, okay, what has been the most strategic and profitable thing and the biggest numbers, I started focusing there. And so it wasn't really social media, even though when I do start showing up, yeah, it's good, but you have to know your season that you're in. There's some seasons that you can't show up on social like that, because depending on the kids or what's going on, right? In your personal life, right? We all got these different things going on. So that was my 2 cents. Grace, thank you so much for the question. Thank you for being here. All right, everyone. I hope you all have an incredible, I have like 5 kids here. But I hope you guys have an incredible day. I'm serious. There's like 3 of mine and 2 of my sisters. All right. Bye.
Bye, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, it's Linda, and I would absolutely love if you can give us a review, whether it's on Spotify, iHeart, or Apple. I want to know if this podcast is resonating with you. Do you love the podcast? I would love to hear from you. So please leave us a review. It helps me know if I am in the right area to serve you. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have a chance, stop by the website at lindamendable.com and join us over at Monetizing Mompreneurs Facebook group. I just want to say again, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.